Up next on Eco Company.
Girl Scouts to the rescue.
Chop, chop, chop.
Chopping, digging, and planting.
I like helping the environment, and then this was a great way to do it.
Helping restore habitat to save an endangered salmon.
Then, marine creatures revealed. Checking the shoreline at low tide.
So you can see it actually attaching to me right now.
Exploring tide pools and getting a lesson on a delicate ecosystem.
Then, meet the Eggman. He's hatching rescued duck eggs.
Now you say welcome to our world.
An amazing story from a guy who's hatched over 27,000 eggs.
Then another bird tale, but not just any bird.
5 feet tall, 7-foot wingspan.
It's the Sandhill Crane, and they've been around for over 40 million years. Eco Company
starts now. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into Eco Company. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Josh, and today we're all about endangered species and eco-habitats.
First up, we meet up with some Girl Scouts who have come to the rescue of endangered salmon.
They're helping to restore a habitat key to the salmon's survival.
It's a great day to be out in the sunshine, and these Girl Scouts know it.
Yeah, I love being outdoors.
Sunny skies, green views everywhere you look, even a nearby creek. What more could you ask for? Well, how about the chance to help an endangered fish?
The salmon are an endangered species. It means there's not very many of them left.
Coho salmon swim in this very river in San Geronimo, California. And this scout troop wants to make sure it stays that way.
We're just so happy to have y'all's help today.
They're volunteering with SPAWN, the Salmon Protection and Watershed Network, alongside restoration scientist Jonathan Applebaum.
The habitat restoration that the Girl Scouts are helping us with today is designed to restore habitat conditions for both the salmon and other wildlife.
Kimberly Miller heads up the Girl Scouts Green by Nature program.
What we're trying to do is expose girls to all the different efforts to conserve and have impact on the environment.
Habitat is key to the coho's continued survival in this creek. It's one of only a few in this region to support healthy fish populations.
Many streams in the Bay Area no longer have spawning at all, and some have far fewer fish.
Threats to salmon, like overharvesting, are something these young women, like Leah Dinate, aren't just here to learn about, but do something about too.
It's important because it helps save all the animals that we care about.
Today, it's about saving the salmon by getting this area back to its natural state. First up, that means clearing out this stuff.
Himalayan blackberry is very aggressive, and once it gets established, almost nothing else can grow there. We're having them trim the blackberry. We'll also come in and dig out the roots so that we can replace it with native species.
No roots left behind. It's no easy task. Then there's pulling other pesky weeds.
Chop, 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 and then pull them out.
It's all work that requires gloves, tools, and as high school junior Emily Estelita knows, a careful hand.
It's a lot of work, but it's worth it because I like seeing, because when you clear out everything, then you see all the work that you've done, so it's really nice to see all that come together.
Next up, it's time to fill in some of the spaces left behind.
The Girl Scouts will be planting a few dozen native plant species.
Okay, I'm putting on my gloves to get ready to dig in and get dirty.
This is called a sticky monkey flower.
So just what do they hope these plants do?
By planting native species, we do what's really beneficial for the salmon. That's keeping the soil on the uplands where it belongs and out of the streams.
High school freshman Natalie Estelita has her hands full too.
I think it's really important to keep our earth clean and stuff. It's like where we live, and so it's better to help out so that you're more involved.
And we want our youth to grow up really feeling that sense of responsibility and stewardship.
Well, planting looks good. Now let's give a little something to the roots. And it's a job well done.
Yeah, I like helping the environment, and then this was a great way to do it, helping the land and the salmon in the water.
So from digging up plants that don't belong to planting ones that do, these girls are doing their part to save an endangered species. that they all hope is around for years to come.
It's our hope to have a very healthy native community here in the matter of a few years, and to slowly see the number of coho salmon recover back towards what it historically was in this stream.
Thank you, Jonathan, everybody. Thank you,
Thank you. Girl Scouts.
Many important habitats are not easily accessed, but Jordan recently got the chance to explore one delicate ecosystem only revealed at low tide.
Hey guys, tide pools like these found along the California coast reveal unique ocean ecosystems. We're here to explore them and see what we can find. Where can you go to find creatures of all shapes, makes, and sizes right at your fingertips? Why, a tide pool, of course. Puddles created when ocean tides recede along the shoreline.
An intertidal zone, this is a zone where it's a rocky area where the tide, which is caused by the moon, will go high and low twice a day. And when it's a low tide, the rocks are exposed, leaving pools of water where organisms can live.
Haley Usdom is the education coordinator at the nonprofit Marine Science Institute in Northern California.
We are trying to cultivate responsibility for the natural environment and human communities through education, science education.
Today she's hosting an expedition for high school students from Palo Alto's Castanea School. Waterproof boots are a must.
It's not completely low tide quite yet, so we're going to try to go out as far as we can and keep going out until we have to come back.
On this journey, it's important to keep your eyes peeled.
Did everyone see the purple urchin?
Not just on the rocky ground, but also on the water.
And it's strictly hands-on, everything we do. So here at the Tide Pool Expedition, what we do is we go and we explore what animals live here, how they're able to adapt to the tide changes, and what's happening with them.
Explorers like Sarah Felleman and Lauren Rance aren't afraid to get up close and personal with sea critters. Not to disturb, but to learn.
First, we learned about the tides and the rack lines, which is how far the tides actually go out and in. And then we examined different marine life in the tide pools. We looked at hermit crabs, sea anemones, starfish as well.
What did they find a lot of? These little critters. This one is the porcelain crab. Its flattened body allows it to live in rock crevices.
This is a kelp crab. Now, kelp crabs are spiky. They're not going to pinch, but their legs are a little bit spiky because they use it to hold on.
Fish come to the party too. One in particular.
And you're going to try to catch it when...
This fish is the sculpin, and it's pretty unique.
It's a fish that actually can live for 3 days out of water, and they can get about this big. We found one was about that big, so we caught it and we examined it for a little bit as well.
It's safe to say that out here, not everything is what it seems.
Now, this may not look like it's alive, but wait till you see what happens when I touch it.
All of these sea creatures are important to the ecosystem, the food chain, and climate studies.
Here in the tide pools, we have a huge biodiversity, which is one of the biggest reasons why tide pools are so important. You also have a lot of indicator species that actually show when there is a change going on in the environment that they're infected first.
One of those key indicator species is the starfish. It helps control mussel populations.
But actually, you can see it actually attaching to me right now. Some of the sea stars, like the ochre star that we saw today, they're actually they like to eat mussels, and they'll take their tube feet, pull the mussels apart, and then stick their stomach inside the mussel shells to feed.
But mussels have more than starfish to be afraid of. They also face a growing threat caused by climate change.
Mussels and oysters and clams, that ocean acidification is actually causing their shells to be weaker and thinner, which of course it makes it a hard time to be able to survive, especially in the tide pool area where you're having crashing waves coming all the time and other predators like birds that are feeding on them.
Tidal zones also face threats from sea level rise.
What's happening is the organisms live at certain zones. Because the sea level is rising, they migrate higher up into the zones, and it's causing the shift of change that way.
These are all concerns for Usdom, who hopes to inspire the younger generation to respect the ocean and marine life.
Well, I hope that they take away what they've learned about the animals and how they're able to survive.
I learned a lot about marine life and that diversity especially. There was many different types of fish.
It was really fun. I saw lots of things. I learned that mussels make thread that's actually stronger than steel, and I didn't know that, and they use it for stitches.
So now you too know some of the secrets held inside these pools of water. a delicate ecosystem at the mercy of the tides and us too.
This is a habitat where things can change based on how humans interact in it.
They are some of the ocean's mysteries that we hold literally in the palm of our hand.
Coming up, the Eggman. We're talking duck eggs. From rescued eggs to ducklings to back into the wild, he's the guy for the job.
And later, slightly larger birds.
5 feet tall, 7-foot wingspan.
Beautiful creatures affected by the loss of habitats. More Eco Company is still ahead.
In Northern California, there are a lot of ducks, and they use cover crops as nesting places.
That can have disastrous results when farmers need to till their fields.
But we found a farm with a tradition of rescuing the eggs
And a special man who hatches them and gives them life.
It's far from a quiet day at Lundberg Family Farms. There's a group of 5th graders out here creating quite a racket. It's all part of the annual Egg Aid.
And the Egg Aid is an official day. It's just a great day that we have that we can share it with a few classrooms.
Today, these kids are flushing mother ducks out of the field. That way they can spot their nests and get the eggs out of harm's way before the cover crop is mowed under. You see, the ducks just love to nest in the field's cover crop.
This is part of the Pacific Flyway, and with the rice industry in California, it provides about 500,000 acres of habitat as birds move from the Bering Strait all the way down to Mexico.
By the end of the day, they've brought in quite a haul. That's where Darrold Daly comes in. He's the egg keeper in these parts.
I talked to the ducks, I talked to the dogs, and talked to the little birds.
Daly knows a thing or two about giving duck eggs some TLC, because he's been doing it for quite a while.
This is my 27th year, and I will go over 27,000 this year.
It all started when Daly accidentally ran over a nest himself.
And I salvaged 5 eggs, and I brought them home and hatched 4 of them.
Soon after, the eggs just kept coming.
Next year, the farmers would come with a hat full of eggs and said, well, you hatched these last year. Can you do some more? So I said, yeah. And the following year, there was more, and then the rest is history.
Enter Lundberg Family Farms.
We said, you know what, if we gather the eggs, how about if we send them to you and you can hatch them?
After they're collected from the field, their first stop is an incubator. It's a delicate process that takes a watchful eye.
These turn automatically. They turn every 3 or 4 hours because an egg does have to be turned. Mama turns her eggs.
When the timing's right, it's on to the next stop.
This is the hatcher, and there should be some hatching in there now. There's one just coming out of the egg right now.
There are a few wood ducks and even wild turkey eggs too, but most of what you'll find here are mallards.
They'll have their little bill up in the air pocket. See, he's pipped here. See where he's broken the shell out. And once they do that, they're breathing our air.
It won't be long now.
Watch this. Now you say, welcome to our world.
The hatch rate is about 90% success. So the eggs that are collected, they are marked, have a date on it, they're kept together as a clutch. So kind of as a family, because if the hens start incubating them, they'll all hatch out at the same time.
And we have good success, great success.
In about a month or so, these little guys will spread their wings. But first they'll spend some time outdoors, in these pens, getting used to the water and all the elements.
See, these will go out next week, next Friday.
When their day comes, they get loaded up in Daly's truck for the trip out to the wildlife sanctuary. But before they do, they'll get banded.
They're all banded with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service bands.
After a short ride, Daly backs his truck up to the creek, where it's a short hop to freedom. and they quickly disappear into the brush.
And we know from band returns that the birds are integrating into wild populations, and that's exciting. And we've had band returns as far away as Gwynn, Minnesota, and the Mojave Desert, which is telling us that these birds that are being released are not only able to survive after they're being released, but they're integrating into wild populations.
And as far as Daly goes, he has no plans to stop anytime soon.
As long as I can, I will be taking care of these ducks.
Coming up, one of nature's most spectacular creatures.
It's a bird that's been around for over 40 million years.
Stay tuned, more Eco Company is straight ahead.
The greater Sandhill Crane is quite a sight to see.
But up until recently, the chance to see them was threatened in California.
But we visited one nature preserve that's working to change all that.
They're gorgeous, graceful creatures.
Can be up to 5 feet tall, 7-foot wingspan, in large numbers, dancing, making all this sound. It's really fantastic.
These winged marvels are Sandhill Cranes, the most abundant crane species in the world. And the Nature Conservancy's Jesse Roseman says perhaps also the oldest.
We found fossils from 40 million years ago, same bird, so it's really a living fossil.
In Central California, the best place to spot them is at the Cosumnes River Preserve, where they fly south for the winter.
Several of our banded cranes have been coming back here for many years. I believe there was a pair which was nicknamed Sweetie and Softy.
It's a migratory bird, so it only spends part of the season down here at the Cosumnes, basically getting fat. Then it'll go back to the north if it's a greater Sandhill crane, which is a threatened species here in California. Then it'll go only as far as Oregon.
Hunters nearly wiped out the greater Sandhill crane in the 18th and 19th century. Preserve manager Harry McQuillan, who's with the U.S. Bureau of Land Management, says urbanization has also taken its toll.
They were listed for the exact same reasons as almost every other species is listed on the endangered species list, and it's due to habitat loss and fragmentation.
We've lost somewhere in the range of 90 to 95% of all the wetland habitat that a lot of these cranes used to depend on. I think that's really affected their overall numbers.
But that's not the case here, thanks to restoration efforts.
And our primary purpose for being here basically focuses on 3 different types of habitat: freshwater wetlands, valley oak riparian forest, and then annual grasslands, vernal pool grasslands.
It's a task that's far from a solo effort. It takes several government agencies, nonprofit groups, as well as private landowners.
It really does take a team of folks out here to get the job done.
Government agencies manage the land and work with local farmers and ranchers who also play a big role. Biologist Carleen Volherbst is with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
We work with private landowners, and here at the preserve we're looking at neighbors of the preserve, partners within the Cosumnes River watershed to help them do restoration on their private land.
Farmers also help the wildlife ecosystem by growing certain crops.
When we harvest a field, we'll make sure that some of the grain is left on the surface so they can come in behind our harvesting. And then we also add water to the fields, which is another critical element for the cranes. And then they're able to gather their food and roost.
It's all part of a plan to protect not just the Sandhill crane, but everything else around them too. In fact, there are more than 260 animal species taking refuge here.
If we protect habitat for the Sandhill crane and can get people excited about cranes, we then surreptitiously protect habitat for lots of other species.
That's where educating the public comes in. To that end, 10,000 school kids visit the preserve each year.
Our theory is give them some hands-on. And so we have kids that come out here and they'll collect acorns in September, October, and then they'll come back in December, January, February and plant them for us. So they actually get to see the whole process.
It's a job that's not so much a job, but a mission for these nature lovers.
Part of my job is being able to spend time outside, being able to create habitat for wildlife, and be able to share that with the public, to be able to share how amazing wildlife is, the wonders of wildlife.
Well, the best part of my job is showing up every morning and see these huge flocks of birds flying overhead and knowing that I played a role in helping to provide that home for that animal or that plant is really very satisfying.
It's a spectacular place to be. I can't imagine going anyplace else right now.
A spectacular place where birds dance on the horizon. An unforgettable sight for those lucky enough to witness the Sandhill Cranes take flight.
That wraps up another episode of Eco Company. Thanks for joining us.
For more information on the stories in the show or to give us your feedback, check out our website at eco-company.tv.
And remember, you too can be a part of the solution. We'll see you next time
on Eco Company.